Hello, everyone. Welcome officially to the interview series with Introverts and Co. Finally, I have been so excited for today. And I'm so excited to introduce you guys to my friend Jay, who is the founder of Sincerely an Introvert. So I'm going to bring Jay on right now. And while you guys are watching, while you guys are waiting for me to bring Jay on, introduce yourselves in the comments. I want this to be a super fun, interactive, live, awesome experience. So let us know what your name is, who you are, where you're tuning in from. Tell us about yourself and feel free to interact with each other throughout my call with Jay. So excited for today. Let's bring Jay on. Okay. So Jay, sincerely. Jay. Okay. Give us 1 second. Like I said, introduce yourself in the comments. Tell us. And just while you're introducing yourself, I would love to know, what does it mean to you to be an introvert? All right? Just 1 second. Hold on. Let's just make sure that. Sorry guys, give us 1 moment, okay? Sorry guys, I'm so sorry. We will be getting started in just a minute. Okay. All right. So I want to know from you guys, what does it mean to be an introvert? Because I know what it means to me, right? And Jay is going to talk a little bit about what it means to him. And we're going to talk all about some of the common myths that I think people have about being an introvert. We're going to talk about all the things. So Jay is actually joining me right now. Let's add him. Video. Oh. Hi, Jay. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Awesome. I'm so excited that you are the very first guest on the all-new interview series with Introverts and Co. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself in just a second. But first, I want to just quickly share with everybody who is watching a little bit about this new series because it's brand new. It's the first time I'm ever running this. And yeah, so really quickly, a little bit about me, guys. I am Stephanie Laffey, and I am the coach for introverts. And, I've been an introvert my whole life, right? But for the longest time, I thought that that was a little bit of a curse. I really felt like that was something that held me back, and I felt that it was an obstacle. But in 2022, I learned, oh, you can only hear you can only, uh-oh. Hold on. Thank you, Sharon. I'm going to try and see if I can, let's see. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you perfectly.
You can hear me perfectly? Okay,
Yes.
Sharon, can you let me know if you can hear me? Okay. So, I've been an introvert my whole life. I thought it was a curse for most of my life. But now I realize that it is a gift. And this year I really stepped into this belief that being an introvert is actually a gift. So I want to show as many introverts as possible that this is something to embrace. We are all so lucky to be introverts, right? And I thought that it would be fun to bring a guest, I bring together a bunch of guests onto my community or into my community to talk about just being an introvert, what their experience has been like, and, just to help you guys like live life as an introvert and just share perspectives, etc. So, Jay is my very first guest, and I will let him tell you a little bit about himself, and then we are going to dive right into talking about what it means to be an introvert. So, Jay, I will give you the floor.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Steph. So I'm Jay Coleman. I am the founder, president, and chief introvert officer, as I call it, of Sincerely an Introvert, which is my very own uh, brand of introvert inspired clothing. I really wanted to. I've always wanted to have my own business, and I'm a lifelong introvert, so I decided to just kind of marry the two and create a bunch of introvert inspired T-shirts and hoodies. But after after I started my business, it quickly dawned on me that I had the opportunity to do a little bit more or a lot more than just sell shirts and hoodies. Like I had the opportunity to really connect with introverts, not just online, but all walks of life. So I'm really been kind of leaning into that, just learning the different flavors of being introvert and what it means to different people to be an introvert. That's that's pretty much my story. I'm not a big talker. I said because we're all introverts, so I'm not talking about myself too much.
That's okay. Well, I mean, you are an introvert, right? um, So, you and I did a couple polls over the last week, and we talked a lot with a lot of people about what it means to them to be an introvert. And, you know, I thought that was just such a great topic, such a great prompt. And it really got a lot of people talking.
Yes, you got
Um,
a lot of good feedback. Yes.
Yeah. So what came up for you in your research? And then I can share a little bit of mine, and then I want to kind of talk through some of the responses that people gave. And maybe we can see if we can even bust some myths and give people some tips to deal with what they shared it means to be an introvert. So what came up for you?
So I would say the most common comment typically went along the lines of people feeling that at first there was a weakness for a certain portion of their lives, either small part or up until recently that it was a weakness, but now that they view it more as a strength, and they become more accepting of that's this is who I am, and there are a lot more positives to being an introvert than there are negatives.
I
So
love
that's definitely been the most um, common, not so much in that form, but just it's been said in various ways, which I definitely agree with because that's kind of how I felt the majority of my life. Like I really didn't become comfortable with being an introvert to maybe a few years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, that definitely came up a lot for me. There was definitely, it was interesting because I did a poll in a different Facebook group the other day, and I asked, you know, is being an introvert a blessing or a curse? And what was interesting to me was when I did it that way, when I did just a simple poll, I got a lot of people that said it was a curse, but when I asked it as a prompt, I got a lot of people that said similar to what you're saying, where they're realizing now that it's actually a blessing, it's a positive thing. And I thought that was interesting. I'm like, wow, that's so introverted of these people that aren't willing to speak up and share why it's a curse. But I'm curious, you said that you didn't always see it as a blessing. So what changed? What shifted that helped you to start to see it that way?
So I've always been pretty reserved and quiet. To this day, I'm just not. Again, I'm not much of a talker. Like I can go days, weeks without talking to anybody and be fine with it. Um, but I realized that me just being my quiet self really tends to upset people because it's like they think that you owe them a conversation because they feel like talking. And I used to wonder, wow, what's wrong with me? Why, is being quiet, so bad? And then as again, as I grew up, as I got into my adult years, I just stopped. I stopped caring. Like I just feel this is who
Right,
I am. I'm a quiet person. I'll talk when I want to talk, or I'll talk if there's something interesting to talk about. The truth is just there's not a lot of interesting things to talk about. Like I'm not. I hate small talk. I don't care about your dog. I don't care about what where you're from. I'm not interested in your kids.
right,
I'm interested in you. How you grew up. Things that are important to you. But superficial surface discussions just aren't my thing.
right,
And I just don't have the energy for it. And I had to become okay with that. And if anybody asks, I'll tell them. I'm very comfortable telling people and explaining that just like that. And it's not that I'm being rude or antisocial. It was just I have a certain amount of energy every day, and I'm just not going to devote any energy to meaningless discussions or meaningless activities. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I mean, it took a while. I'm 38. I was in my 30s before I really became comfortable with just being an introvert.
Right. Yeah, I mean it definitely a process of, self-acceptance. I think that's definitely a really big thing that you touched on. 'Cause I went through a similar experience. Like I remember for the longest time, I used to every time I would engage with other people, I don't know if you've had this experience, I'm curious, but
Mhm.
every time I would engage with other people, I was constantly like, wow, like I said the wrong thing, or wow, that person thinks I'm so weird, or I shouldn't say this, like they're judging me. Um, and so for the longest time, like I just thought I was this weirdo who nobody understood, who nobody really like could, or who nobody really wanted to engage with. And really, at the end of the day, that was just my dumpster fire of a brain and all the mean thoughts in my brain coming at me. But none of that was true. At the end of the day, I needed to just kind of accept the fact that I am an awesome human being and I am introverted, and that is a-okay. And if I can just accept that and put myself out there using the energy that I have available to me right now, then that's enough. And if it's not enough, then the people that it's not enough for, too bad, they're missing out. I don't know what to
Exactly.
tell them. But
Exactly.
I'm very on right now, but I'm not always on, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm on, but when this is over, I'm gonna probably need a nap for about a couple of days. Just just
I love
just how it is. Um, but I mean, so it's with me. I realized earlier that my sense of humor is a little off, and again, I'm fine with that. So it's not so much that I say weird things. It's just that because I'm quiet and because I don't talk as often when I do say something, I find that it hits very hard, particularly when and again I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm just saying what comes to my head.
I love
But I
that.
realize that it just hits hard because like whoa, where did that come from? And this guy knows how to have to talk. He hasn't talked for 2 hours, and then he drops his gym. So that partly is why I accepted being an introvert. But with me, I found that people didn't, I guess they don't think that I'm weird, but they thought that I didn't care because,
Mhm.
I am very laid back, or I guess they would be looking for a certain reaction or a certain statement,
Right.
and I didn't give it to them. And it's not so much that well, it's not always that I don't care. Let me be honest. But but no, I'm just listening to them and I understand. But sometimes I didn't feel that there had to be a 18-word response to
Right.
what they said. So I've definitely gotten that reaction, like, oh, you don't care, you don't give a damn. Um, my former boss, who I love now, we're cool now, but he actually accused me of not caring about a project that we were working on, and my co-boss was like, "No, he cares. He just laid back. Like he
Right.
does the work, and he'll stay here until when it's done. He's just not very very rah rah and demonstrative. So I think once he understood that, and once people understand that I'm not the most demonstrative guy,
Right.
they get it. But yeah, that part probably was the most frustrating part of being an introvert, of being an introvert. Just people just thinking that I don't care. When the reality is, I actually do care a lot about certain things and certain people. But you
Right.
know,
I love that somebody in the comments, Kimberly, said apathy is
yeah,
something that I'm accused of.
it
It's
is.
I feel like I've gone in waves. Sometimes I've been accused of caring way too much and being way too sensitive about everything. And then I take that, being an introvert, I take criticism very very hard. Um and so I would take that criticism and I would sort of think, okay, like I should just not care. So for a long time, I was going back and forth between being accused of being apathetic and then being accused of being too sensitive, and it was just like I can't win.
As I always say, being introverted is not for the weak, man. It is not.
No,
It's just not.
quiet doesn't mean that it's an easy experience. Um,
Yeah. But I do find that you know I don't I know I don't always come across as it, but I am actually very sensitive myself, so I can definitely understand. I've never been I've been accused of caring too much, but I am definitely a very sensitive person, and I can recognize that kind of aspect in my fellow introverts because a lot of us are very sensitive, even if we don't always show it.
right, right, because it can be really hard to know how to express that, I think. Um, have you found it challenging to express to people like that you actually do care? Like, what's been the biggest challenge there with like um learning how to I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right word right now. Prove isn't really necessarily the word because you don't really need to prove anything to anyone. But how have you learned how to show people that you actually do care when you care?
Uh, well, like one, if I'm in the workspace, I just show how I care by doing the work and doing the work,
Yeah,
like doing it well. They can say I don't care about this, but clearly I do because I spent however long it took to get the work done. Um, but also I just talk to people. A lot of times they'll, come up to me separately and they'll ask, and I'll just use that as an opportunity to say, no, actually I do care. I'm just not the most chilly guy, but this is how, I show that I actually care about whatever it is we're talking about. Um, or if I feel that the situation is getting kind of, I don't know, it's going further along down a certain path, I'll just be proactive and say, hey, I actually do care about this, or I care about what you said. I'm not the most demonstrative person, but
right,
I don't want to come across as me not caring or me being apathetic. And,
right.
and 99% of the time that works. Like I think if you just explain and talk to people, they'll understand. Um, there are some that take it as a challenge, I guess, to get you out of your comfort zone and get you to be more demonstrative.
Right.
And I'm like, hold up, homie, that's not gonna happen. I'm firm in that. I have to be who I am. I don't try to change how people. I don't try to change how everybody else
Right.
is. So I expect the same level of respect,
A-
or we can just go our separate ways.
Absolutely. Right. If you're not happy with the way that I'm showing you how I care, then it's just not gonna work. I
Yeah,
mean, I
just go that way. Like,
I can't make myself care more. Like, and I'm not gonna lie to you and pretend to care more than I do. That's not helping anyone.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I feel I don't want to pretend because I feel like one, not only am I pretending, but I'm doing a bad job of pretending, and I feel like people know that I'm pretending, and I don't want like I don't want that.
Like I always say, I'm not an actor. Like I'm not. Yeah, I'm good at a lot of things. I'm not an actor. And if you want me to put on an act, you're going to be able to see right through it. I'm going to feel terrible about it. And it's just going to be uncomfortable for everyone. So,
Yeah,
like, this is who I am. And if, like I said earlier, if that's not good enough for you, then, oh well,
yeah.
you're lost. Um, so I want to switch gears a little bit because you said something about, you mentioned that you're funny, which I agree you are.
Appreciate it.
Um, and one of the things in college that really helped me with, getting more comfortable in conversations, especially conversations where um, I had to interview or network with people. Those things made me so uncomfortable. But humor is one of the first things that I really learned to tap into in order to make myself more comfortable in certain situations. Um, so I'm curious if your sense of humor has really helped you to sort of navigate life and feel more comfortable in situations where you might otherwise feel like you'd rather be anywhere else.
No, most definitely. My sense of humor has come in handy. Um, One, I just always been able to see humor in just anything. Particularly in my now former line of work in procurement. People would just ask for the craziest things. To get the rules, I want this. That's funny to me. Because when it goes left, I'm going to be the one in trouble. That's hilarious. So I would have to figure out very professional ways, sometimes funny ways to explain to them like, yeah, that's not going to work. The FBI frowns on that sort of thing. Can't do that. Sorry,
Right.
we can't put this on your personal credit card. The government doesn't like that. So I try to not so much approach everything through a humorous lens, but just be aware that there are things in life that are just funny.
Absolutely.
And I'm fortunate that I'm able to. Now I think I'm fortunate that my sense of humor is just again it's twisted. And I just look at things differently than people
Right.
than most people, and I've gotten comfortable with that, and that definitely helps. In interviews, on panels, when I'm having just discussions, because one is funny, but also it does kind of help spark an actual deeper conversation because they'll say, "Oh, I never saw it that way."
Right.
So I've definitely found that to be true as well. But yeah, humor, I would say humor has definitely saved my life as far as being an introvert.
Absolutely. I mean, for like one of the things I learned pretty quickly about humor is if you can make somebody laugh within the first 5-10 minutes of meeting them, even if it's just to get them to crack a smile, like you have their attention now. You've just made them laugh and you've sort of spoken to their emotions. And that's how you want to engage with people. If you can connect to somebody's emotion, they are going to pay attention to whatever you say next.
Yeah.
And if you can do that from a positive place, like you don't want to like walk into a conversation and, you know, say something that's going to piss somebody off, right? Because then you're going to connect with them in a negative way. So the opposite of that, you want their attention in a positive way. You want them to sort of look at you and engage with you in a positive way. Easiest way to do that is humor.
Yeah.
So
Well, definitely.
I like to tell people, come into any situation like with a stupid joke in the back of your mind. If you're not a funny person, it's okay, but have one thing that's like that makes you laugh and bring that to the table. Even if it's like I don't know, an observation about, you know, the how cold it is in the office or whatever. It can be something really silly. But having a sense of humor will definitely open up a lot of doors, especially if you're super introverted.
Yeah. And for me also, I'm 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 pretty good at storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So I'm able to tell a story in a very humorous, very humorous way. Still gets my point across. So I found that that's helped me as well. So for the introverts that can't can't think of a joke, just think of a story of something that happened.
But
You know, the truth is the funniest thing of all. It's funny.
absolutely.
It's funny because it's true. So I typically just try to tell some story of something that happened or something that happened to me or someone else on my way in. And hey, that it helps.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, if I think the thing that you have to do is find something that you're good at, something that you can speak to, whether that's storytelling or, you know, you relying on your sense of humor. Maybe you are a really just kind human being. Tap into that and you can use that to, you know, say something nice about what the person's shoes or whatever. But if you can really tap into something that comes easily to you, it'll make talking and engaging with people a whole lot easier, I think. Um, so some people aren't naturally funny, and that's fine. You don't have to be funny. Um, if you're a storyteller, do that. If you're a complimenter, compliment the person's watch or whatever. But that's, I think, one of the easiest ways to open people up is to just come prepared to utilize something that comes really natural to you.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. So I'm curious, like, what were some of what were some of the negative things that people said about being an introvert? Like, what were some of the things that you were like, I don't know if I agree with that, or I don't know if I agree with that anymore?
So folks didn't really get into too many specifics, but and again, they were just saying that because they were quiet or because they were shy. Sometimes people would overlook them or try to take advantage of them. Some people literally got uh, in trouble, I guess, because they were quiet, which I can attest to. I've gotten in trouble many a times for not talking, which always confused the hell out of me. But you know, being forced, I guess, to interact with people, um, which again, it's hard for us when we don't feel like interacting because it just feels fake. But then we get in trouble or we get yelled at or punished because we're not being polite.
Right.
We're not being sociable. People uh, mistake mistake us for being rude when we're just being ourselves. We just or we get in trouble for being ourselves because we actually don't want to be rude by having this fake conversation.
Right.
But um, and what wasn't said, but what I experienced, and I'm assuming that a lot of the people that respond to experience is that we have these feelings and we're able to articulate them now, but in the moment we're not always able to articulate how we're feeling. So we are
Right.
just quiet. Like I remember, even as an adult, it's just hard for us to articulate, how we're feeling or how we are in that moment. If you give me an hour or so, come back, sure.
Right.
Um, I've run into that a lot of times, and again, I'm assuming that other people felt that way, but I noticed that it just brought back a lot of memories for some of these comments.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like um I I have my experience is a little bit different, I think, from a lot of people because I can't hear. I was I was born with a binaural hearing loss. And so I have a 30% hearing loss in my right ear
Mm-hmm.
and a 20% hearing loss in my left ear. And so I can't hear people when I can't read their lips, right? And so a lot of the time there was like an added layer of not only was I so uncomfortable like speaking and not only did I not want to like put on a facade or like, be fake or pretend to care or whatever, but I actually couldn't hear what a lot of people were saying. And so it was for a long time, I didn't have a sense of humor about my hearing loss. I was like so ashamed of it and I was so embarrassed by it. Um, and so when people would talk, I would try to guess what they had just said and like respond to that. So a lot of the times I was responding to like something that they definitely did not say or something completely different from what they said. Um, Instead of just saying, wait, I didn't hear you, like I have a hearing loss, or can you repeat that? And it life has gotten so much easier now that I've been honest about my hearing loss. But yeah, for a long time, like people thought I like didn't care, didn't want to be involved in the conversation, but it was simply because I was afraid to express that I couldn't hear what they were saying.
I can imagine. I can't imagine actually. That is tough. But not to make too light of it, I'll say, trust me, you weren't missing much. Um, it's just you weren't.
Oh, now, like,
Trust me.
yeah, now I realize, like, I love my hearing loss. It's so great because I can just, like, I'm definitely selective about it sometimes. um, like, there are times when, like, I pretend to not hear, for sure, especially at work. um, but, you know, it's it's nice that I've accepted it and I've embraced it as like it's been a blessing. It's taught me a lot about life. It's taught me how to look people in the eye when I'm talking to them because I literally need to. um, I have to look at people's lips in order to understand them. So it's been a blessing. Um, I had hearing aids I have them in second grade. I used to throw them out every day until my mom finally was like, you know what, you don't need to wear these. And then I got them again as an adult, but it was so frustrating because now I lived my entire life not being able to hear like background noises, right? So all of a sudden I have these things in my ears and all I can hear is the windshield wiper or the printer. I
Wow.
couldn't pay attention to conversations because I was so distracted by everything in the background that I'd never heard before. So
Interesting.
yeah. Um, did you get a lot of comments about people like feeling like they're constantly overthinking?
I got a couple, a few overthinkers. Some again, some originally thought that it was, a weakness, but you know, they realize now that overthinking can kind of come in handy. It helps prevent us as introverts from making the wrong decision because if we are going to do something, that means you thought about it thoroughly
Right.
very, very thoroughly. And also it helps us focus, and it kind of one person actually said, overthinking kind of helps us be experts in a given topic or a given field because we just spend so much time thinking about it and
I
researching about
love that. Oh my God. That's my new favorite like way of looking at it.
it. Yeah. I mean, I tend to overthink about, about a lot of things, but I also realize that I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things because I'll just I gotta go down this rabbit hole and just get all the information about something, and so I'll become an expert on some random topic.
I love that. Um, wow, I didn't even realize that it was already 5:40 almost. So wow, we literally could talk about this all day, clearly. Um, but I just want to be cognizant of everyone's time. Um, so I wanted to just quickly wrap up. Um, what are your final thoughts for anybody who's watching, anybody who is an introvert? What is one thing that you want to say to them about just, being an introvert in this crazy world? And then I'll have you like kind of tell us how we can get some of your apparel.
Um, Honestly, the main thing I can just say is you have to be yourself. Like you can only be yourself. Um, to be what someone else be, what someone else envisions you to be, just isn't. It's not going to fly. Um, we, as introverts, we're kind of our own like lie detectors. So like we know there's something in us that just will not allow us to be fake. And the more we fight that, the worse it gets for us. So if nothing else, you have to be yourself. You have to be. If you're quiet, be quiet. If you're reserved, be reserved. If you like having discussions about certain things, do that. But don't try to be someone else's version of you. It's never going to work out.
I love that. Yeah, beautifully said. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Can you tell us how we can go about getting some introvert apparel? And I know I'm gonna get myself a sweatshirt.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yes. So sincerelyandintrovert.com. You can catch me on Instagram also at sincerely an introvert. Same thing on Facebook at sincerely an introvert. It's three words all together. Sincerely an introvert. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions. Comment on my post if you ever have a question. Um, that's pretty much it. If you want some ideas on kind of what design may fit your personality, definitely let me know. I'm always happy to help. If you have a question on a certain color, I'll help us as best as I can with that also. But yeah, sincerely an introvert.com and Facebook and Instagram are probably the best ways to get a hold of me.
Oh, I love that. Somebody, Kimberly says, I have the awesomely introverted shirt. I love it.
Yes,
I might have to get one.
thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And I think you said you could hook everyone up with the discount if they join the email
What?
list, right?
I'm sorry, you must be breaking up. I didn't hear you. What happened?
I think there was something that you might have mentioned that you get 20% off your first order.
What happened? What happened now? What was that? What?
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 Oh, are you catching my bad hearing?
I'm sorry. What happened now? Yeah, it must be catching up. What?
Can you
Nah,
hear
but I will say if you join, if you sign up for our email list, yes, you do get 20% off your first order. So if you go to the website,
me?
sign up for sign up for the email list. You should get a coupon code for 20% off. If you have any issues, just shoot me an email and we'll get it fixed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now you know what it feels like to be me. Um, yeah, thank you so much, Jay. Thank you for your time. So, guys, just to give you a little wrap up real quick, these interviews are going to be happening right here in the Facebook group on the last Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. and I think the second Tuesday of every month during lunchtime. So we are going to be bringing on so many incredible introverts, just like Jay, and we're going to be talking about all the things that you guys have been asking questions about. And I would love to have you guys suggest topics. Let us know, what guests you want me to interview. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited to see how this series grows. And I'm just so grateful that all of you are here watching today. So thank you. All right, I will let you go. Have a great Sunday. And I'm going to go order me a shirt.
There you go. Thank you so much. Thanks for having
All
me.
right, of course. Bye.